Hey everybody, I wanted to check in with you about content and function words. And I've seen a lot of you doing function and content word sorts where you will have taught content and function a few words, and then you'll give them the cards with the words on them and have them sort them into content and function, or you'll show them a list of words and have them label them with a C or an F as content or function. So sorting words is fine if we're sorting them into O consonant E words or OA words, for example. Or there's lots of different uses for sort. Short A, short E, whatever. Content and function words should not be used as in a sort, because you cannot tell if a word is a content or a function word until it surfaces in a sentence. Now, yes, you can, in terms of if it has one or two letters, you know it's a function word, but that is just one of many characteristics or features of a function word. And many function words have 3 or more letters. So that relying on that criteria alone is misleading and is not going to be true as you teach more and more of these words. Okay, so I want to just clarify that the content and function word chart, of course, and this is probably why you're going in that direction with your instruction, is that we did sort them into 2 columns. If you remember, I started the instruction with you and I said, I just gave some words and showed you, I'm going to put this one in this column, I'm going to put this one in this column, and I'm going to put this one in this column and this one, and then we started noticing things about them. So yes, that part of it, I did do a sort, but I was guiding the student through, I was using the sort to get the student to discover certain things about the content and function words. Okay, so I want to show you kind of a scope and sequence of how you can use the function and content word chart to teach different concepts. Okay, and so what I've done is I've put them into the context of sentences where I try to use both of the words, especially if they're homophones, in the same sentence. All right, so when I very first introduce content and function words, I will, first of all, I won't even use those words. I'll just say, we're going to review some sentences, and you'll notice that I've underlined some of the words, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to put some of the words in column 1 and some of them in column 2. So you just call them columns 1 and 2. So I have a small piece of dirt in my eye. I and I. So watch as I put this word I down here in this column, and I put this word I over in this column, and we can just pretend that these are labeled 1 and 2. So that would be what you're doing now, is putting those words onto this chart. Okay, so this paper is just to help you kind of see how that would go. Okay, and then here, I went to the store to buy 2 apples. I went to the store to buy 2 apples. Do you want to go too? Okay, so I went to the store. I have TO here, TO, and TO in this one. I have 3 TOs. I'm going to put that in this column. And then I have TWO, 2 apples. That means like this, right? This many, 2, it's a number. And I'm going to put that one over here. And then I also have the word TOO down here. Do you want to go too? Meaning like also. I'm also, of course I didn't put that on here, forgot, but TOO can also be listed right here. All right, so far we have I, and 2. Okay, what do we notice maybe so far about these words? Well, already just from these examples, we can say that these can have 1 or 2 letters. These must have 3, because all the words that would be listed here already have 3. And you could just stop right there. You could just establish that if you wanted to. That's fine. We could move on, and of course notice that the child will also probably notice these are homophones. Even if they don't say that, they'll say that they sound the same. Yes, very good. They do sound the same, but do they mean the same thing? Can I just use this spelling of I and put it here and use that spelling of I and put it down here and it'll mean the same thing? No, definitely not. Okay, so you want to also acknowledge this whole homophone thing, even though every word is either a content or a function word, even if it's not a homophone. So don't lead the student to believe that all content and function words just have to do with homophones. Okay. All right. And so then we could go on to this one. This says, I can eat a whole can of beans. I can eat a whole can of beans. Okay. So, I have the word C-A-N and the word C-A-N. Do they mean the same thing in this sentence? Does this can mean the same as this can? No, right? This is actually a verb this is helping this verb. What am I doing, or what can I do? I can eat. And then what can I eat? A whole can of beans. Okay, so from here, you can also notice that I put one of the cans, this CAN is in function, and this CAN is in content. And I'm still not using the words function content. I can still just say this column and this column. And I don't even have to explain any more than what I just said about a helping verb. I don't need to talk about parts of speech yet. What I can do now is question then more. Which side seems like it could be easier to draw? Would you be able to draw a picture of this can, like a can of beans, or this can like I can eat? Well, this one. How about this two or this two, and this I or this I? These are pretty clear that these words are the ones that are easier to draw. Now, I have on here also that you could also question at this point for the fact that these words are very frequently used. In fact, they are the 300 most often used words. And you can see that up here in my examples. Look at how many times I used this to. T-O, T-O, T-O. I used it 3 times. How many times did I use this to? Well, only once, right? Or even that to, just once. So something that's true about all the words that we are eventually going to put in this column, including these, is that there's only 300 of them, but they're very common. So they're the 300 most used words. Whereas these, there's a whole bunch of them. There's like 1 million of them, but we only use a few of them at one time. We're not using them over and over and over again like we use these. Okay? All right, that could be it for the first introduction of function and content words. Okay, you still don't even have to use the words function and content. Okay? So now maybe you're going to then teach in a few lessons later, you're going to teach the floss rule. Okay? Great. So here are my sentences for that. So I'm just continuing these 2 columns again on this other paper, and I'm just adding to these columns right here, and I can keep adding over here as I instruct. So it's not something you just teach once and then you teach everything about content and function words once and then never talk about it again. It's that you keep coming back to it because it is so useful in terms of how our language works and especially how our spelling works. Okay, so here we have, please get the tray of cookies off the floor. Okay, so here we have of and off. Now, these are not homophones. That is okay. The words on this chart don't have to be homophones, but I'm going to put OF of over here and OFF off over here. What do we notice? Well, I have 2 F's in this word. Okay, interesting. The baby won't fuss with us in the room. The baby won't fuss with us in the room. So I'm going to put us over here and fuss with the double S goes over here. You can talk about, what does that mean if a baby will fuss or won't fuss? What is that? Talk about meaning. I can hear the fizz from his can of Coke. I can hear the fizz from his can of Coke. I can hear the fizz from his can of Coke. Okay, his is going to go over here. And fizz, which actually has a double Z, goes over here in this column. So what is fizz? And you can talk about that, okay? And then even still, you could say his snake will hiss if it's mad. Okay, so here we have a word that ends in an S and it says zzz, which is perfectly fine for that to happen. But then we have a word here that ends in a double S and it says hiss. So you see the conversations that you can have about these topics. Again, so these words can take a shorter spelling, right? A shorter spelling. These will take a longer spelling. Why? Because these words are the words that carry the core meaning of the sentence. They are the meat of the sentence. We want them to look bigger on the page, because without these types of words, we would not know what we were talking about. It would just be like a set of bones instead of having any meat on them, or however you're going to structure your talk about these words, okay? So this is where we could maybe we talk about stressed and unstressed, okay? So like when we say, please get the tray of cookies off the floor. I usually say tray of cookies. I don't say, please get the tray of cookies off the floor. Please get the tray of cookies off the floor, right? The baby won't fuss with us in the room. I can hear the fizz from his can of Coke. Even you can go back up to these as well. I can eat a whole can of beans. It's not I can eat a whole can of beans, or I went to the store to buy 2 apples, or I went to the store to buy 2 apples, right? So you don't even really have to talk about necessarily full vowel and reduced vowel even at this point. But remember that there are lessons that have come in between using this chart, and how you can use the chart to connect it to concepts you've taught. Okay? And so this is where, again, the homophone law, I've actually listed it out here. When words are pronounced the same but have different meanings, they will be spelled differently if possible. Okay? Very good. Okay, so then we could keep going. We can talk about some other content spellings. Remember, this is about marking content words. So there were no rooms in the inn, so we went to the hotel. So remember that we had the floss rule, which dealt with F, L, S, and Z, but those are not the only letters that double, right? To help us get a content word, to make it look bigger, right? So in and in. My mom says but is a bad word, but I disagree. Okay? B-U-T, but over here, B-U-T-T, but. Okay, that's an odd looking egg. Okay, again, there is no function word in this one that corresponds. I just went ahead and listed odd and egg because can't I talk about the fact that, well, odd. I only hear 2 sounds, odd, 2 phonemes. But how many letters do I see? 3. Why? Because it's a content word and I need at least how many letters? 3. Okay, you can use an oar or a paddle in a canoe. Now, so OR, 2 letters, obviously, function word. Why can't I just spell oar like a paddle and oar like OR? Well, why? Because of the homophone principle. Do they mean the same thing? No. So should I try to spell them differently if I can? Yes. So it's OAR, OR, right? Versus or, okay? Then the picnic supplies are in the backpack. This is highlighting the CK spelling and the fact that it comes at the end of a content word, typically, right? It's typically final to a content word. It's also a short vowel protector, as were the floss rule ones, right? But that is not the only thing about them that is important. It's a content word marker. So why doesn't picnic have a CK and a CK, but backpack does? Because backpack is 2 bases, 2 content words. Picnic is the content word. That is the base, a picnic. Okay, even though it's 2 syllables. This is that whole compound word thing, right? Bases are not the same as syllables. There's that discussion. So again, I'm not saying that you have to teach all of these in one time. Maybe you're only going to teach in and in, or, I don't know. It just depends on what's appropriate for that student and how much you want to tackle at that time. We can use our function and content chart to do the verb to be when we're talking about the verb to be, right? Will there be a bee in the hive? Okay, so this be is a function word. It's only 2 letters. So, but bee, like a bumblebee, the thing that might sting us, be. Why can't we just spell it be? Well, does it mean the same thing as this bee? No, it means something different. What do? We add another e. Okay, same thing with like was and fuzz. There was a lot of fuzz on my shirt. There was a lot of fuzz. I don't even really fully articulate the word was. There was a lot of fuzz on my shirt, but I do fully say fuzz. Right? Again, we talked about how a word can end in a S and say z. That's fine. Totally something that it is allowed to do. And then also double Z here because it is a content word. What's a fuzz? You can talk about that. All right, initial WH or W, right? When we have homophones, and so we're deciding which one gets the WH and which one just gets the W. Where should I wear my new dress? Where should I wear my new dress? Okay, well, I've got where and where. One of them is a function word. The other one is a content word. The function word gets the WH when they are homophones. Which one is the scariest which? Which, WH, which, WITCH, content word gets the W, and notice it gets the TCH. So here we go. We've done 2 things in this lesson. We've done initial WH for homophones is function, initial W for homophones is content, and the trigraph TCH is a marker of a content word. Okay, here's some other content spellings. Hi, right? This is an interjection. It's allowed to only have 2 letters. And then how high can you jump? Well, I'm not going to use this spelling of high because it doesn't mean the same thing as this spelling of high. Okay, and I'm going to try to spell them differently if I can. So here we could actually add IGH, right? That's another trigraph that we know. So our chart right here, we could actually add another IGH, right? Could go on here. By the way, so does DGE, right? Or any trigraph, okay, is a content word. And then finally, just to kind of show about what the homophone law and what it means to say if possible. So here I have, my dog will bark if he sees a tree without bark. So my dog will bark if he sees a tree without bark. Okay, bark and bark. My dog will bark. You know what that means? Kids will know what this means. Usually they also know what the bark on a tree is. Do those 2 words mean the same thing? No. Do they sound the same though? Yes. But can we spell them differently? Is there any other way to spell bark? B-ark. No. So it's B-A-R-K. This is showing that whole idea that if possible, words that sound the same will be spelled and mean different things will be spelled differently if possible. Okay, thank you very much. Hope that helps.